Hi friends, it's Julia. Thanks for stopping by my channel for Christmas in July, day number 17. Wow, this month is flying by. Today I'm creating a couple of cards and I'm using this embossed paper. It is one that I embossed a couple of years ago and it's been in my stash, in my Christmas stash, and I just thought it's time to use it. But when I want to cut it down for card size, it gets to be difficult because if you don't put the tape on the back, it shreds the edges when it goes through the trimmer. I don't know if it would be the same if you use a guillotine, but to use the Fiskars trimmer like that, it does. It like slices and shreds the edges, frays them, I guess. And this works better putting the tape on the back. So I have 4 cards here that I'm starting with. I'm going through and prepping the back side, the cardstock base. The green cardstock bases are the 6x6 American Crafts cardstock pad that I used, and then of course the embossed pieces are just from my generic stash, and then the black is the 8.5 by 11, the cheap stuff from Michaels. Nothing fancy there. It doesn't weigh very much, so it doesn't make your card uber heavy to go through the mail. Not that they really, I mean, it would have to weigh a ton to not make regular postage unless, it's very bumpy. And then, of course, you have to pay extra postage. But for me, I think of all of it. Anywho, so I'm just going through pulling some additional pieces. And I have all of those scraps there on the side. That's that little cardstock, the 6x6 cardstock stack. And I'm looking to see what I want to use out of there. Like my 2 cards with the black embossed paper, I'm using green on them, and then the 2 with the gold embossed papers, I'm using black on them. And these are little borders that are going to go down at the bottom. But you see all the scraps that I have over to the right. Those are ones that I'm about to start cutting down to create 4 squares on the front of each of those little square blocks. It's one of those things when you have tons and tons of scraps. I know, at least for me, my goal becomes utilize what you have. I don't like to throw tons of paper away, but when I get to a certain point, yeah, I'll throw it away. But when I have bigger pieces like this, it's hard for me to say, okay, I'm done with this kit, when I know how much more I can make. Now, if I were just absolutely tired of this kit, I might look at those and go, oh, done. Then the paper goes into the recycle bin. But usually, even when I feel that way, I still get down to smaller size paper pieces, scraps of paper. And you can see I had to pull in a larger size, another 6x6 piece of paper, because I was running short on scraps. And it all works out. I cut out just some plain white. You can see I skip a little ahead. I went through my embellishments that I had with the kit and from the generic supply that I have, and to see what I wanted on there. And so I glued the 4 squares down, and then I added the embellishments on top. Now these scraps of white cardstock, I'm going through and I'm stamping the same sentiment on all of them. And it's a close to my heart stamp and just their plain black ink. And so I go through and I do that, and then those will all go on front of the card fronts at the bottom on that sliver of cardstock there. I also stamp the inside of my card bases as well as the envelopes, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But you can see I'm going through here and adding the stamped sentiments to the front of these cards. It's not rocket science, guys. When I follow a sketch to create these, I use what I have to mimic the sketch to the best of my ability. And if I don't follow it 100%, I'm okay with that too. I do go to Christy Marcotte's blog a lot. She has a YouTube channel, but she always leaves a link to her blog. And if you go over there, she has the sketches that she uses to make her cards, as well as the dimensions for 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which you can, if you buy the card bases from Hobby Lobby or Michael and they're 4 by 5 1/2, you can modify just a bit to make it work for you, which is typically what I do. With these cards, I still have the pre-made card bases. I haven't used them all up yet, but I do go through them. I bought a pack of 25 before I started this whole card making series just for Christmas cards, and I blew through those. Just telling you, if that gives you any idea of how many cards I made. And I did use up a couple of partial packs. I think I had some craft ones that I used up as well. Anyway, going through, and I took those old JCPenney flares and I pulled the back off of them, the metal piece, the pin part. I pulled those out and put them on foam strip or foam tape to kind of lift them up a little bit to give them, make them a little higher on the page, because I'm putting them right next to the, like that foam embellishment there. And you can see, okay, this one is the one where I have finished up the pre-made cards that I had bought, and now I'm making my own at this point. And I just used the Michaels brand plain white cardstock, and it is the 110 pound weight, so it's the heavier cardstock. And you can see here I'm stamping the inside, nothing fancy. When I make these cards, I tend to, if I make 2, 4, 5, 10 at one time, I'll typically follow the same method for each one, and that includes stamping the same sentiment on the front of the card as well as stamping the same sentiment on the inside of the card. Now I'll use probably, this one I'm using scrap paper in order to decorate the inside of the card. Sometimes I'll use washi tape or other bits and pieces of scraps that I might have, or border pieces, even ribbon. I've been known to use it all on the inside of cards. I just like that little bit of extra something on the inside. So there you go. Now I'm going to glue on my card fronts to the card bases. And it's nothing fancy, just, you know, getting things prepped. And I will pull out my envelopes here in just a minute and stamp those as well, because I like to put that something extra on the front of my envelopes. And it's something I do with birthday cards as well as with Christmas cards. Voila! It feels good to have all of these Christmas cards done, and I really do like how these turned out. These are probably some of my favorites because they're simple, they're clean looking, but they're still decorative and, you know, they're pretty. I wouldn't mind receiving them, and I sure as heck don't mind giving them out. Anywho, there I go. I'm pulling my envelopes out and I'm going to stamp the fronts of those, and then I'll be done making this set of cards. And for the fronts of these, I'm just going to use some washi tape to go across the front. You can use washi tape on the outside of your envelopes. You just have to use like your bone folder and smash it in really good to the paper so that it doesn't lift when it goes through the mailing process. Most people, well, I didn't know it until the postmaster told me. Most of the time, people don't handle the stuff that you mail. There's no live person that handles every piece of mail that goes through, unless, you know, it's your mailman when he's delivering it to you. But as it goes through the post office, most of it is machinery that sends it through, unless it catches on something and the machinery spits it out. Like if it's too bulky or if there's something sticky on the front that catches the machine, and then when it gets to you, you have extra postage. Anywho, there you go. This set's done. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.